Happy Friday, legends. We are having a Friday session, Jeff Ed, and we're giving it a trial to see how it goes. It's going to hopefully be a nutrition Jeff Ed every week. And if you guys are loving it, and we've got loads of topics that we can cover, we're going to do this every Friday. So a nice way to kind of sum up the week, lead into the weekend. And with that in mind, today's session is all about using your 1.5 days. What it all means, how to do it, why to do it, and why we include it. And I'm going to chat through that for a bit. So boil the kettle, have a cup of tea. I'm having a little cup of tea to see the week through. Check in, let me know who's here, how you guys are doing, how your week's been. And as we get into the topic, please fire some questions my way and let me know things that you might struggle with, things that I'm talking through. If there's anything you want to know a little bit more about, I'll get to them. So let me just bring it up and see who's all here with me. Cool. Catherine is here. Pippa, hello. I just need to move my screen so I can see all you guys. Leslie, always looks forward to the Jeff Ed sessions. Nice way just to kind of take your mind off work for a few minutes, listen to something, maybe in the car home from work, or you've got a little bit of time to catch up and try focus on the mindset. So obviously exercise, nutrition, and mindset. So we're going to cover a little bit of nutrition and mindset in today's session. Sharon, hello. Catherine, hello. Finishing the week strong, Ava Hermans. We've got multiple Hermans in the house, which is fantastic. Lydia Jones, good afternoon. Marita Thamark, hello. Sharon, how's it going? Candice is here. Raf Hermans as well, all here. Christina, hello. Jenny Taylor, nice to have you with us. Minnie, Michael, good to have you guys with us. I hope you're all collecting your dots for your mindset points. Make sure you swipe and check and get the dots, put it on the leaderboard. We're a couple days out from collecting your exercise dots for September. The challenge is going to be epic. So get into the habit of collecting your dots. Obviously, it's only for exercise in September, but it's cool to stick it up there. Tegan says it's a great topic choice. So it's something that you obviously hear us talk about a lot. If you're on a one-on-one program, it's in your nutrition plan. You hear Jono talking about the 1.5 days all the time. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why we do it, how we do it. And you guys can ask me questions about, if you think you're doing it right, how things are going, what you need to adapt, so that we can get you all on board. Tamara needs major self-control on the misses. So I'm going to talk about the misses. And self-control is actually what it's all about. Behavior and self-control. Nicole, hello. Beverly Smith, Jolene Fenter, Kelly in the UK, how's it going? Robin, starting on Monday, ready for that. Kirsty Barker, need some help planning this as the weekends become so busy. And that's another point of it. It's about planning. It's not using it as a safety net and an excuse. It's planning for it. Tamara, hello. Jill, Lynette, Julie James, hello. Bronwyn Morrissey, nice to see you guys all. Pedro, our DHS legend, how's it going? Michelle Engelbrecht, just finished her first week on the one-on-one program, so good timing for this. It'll be your first week of 1.5 days, which is cool. Julie James as well. Cool. So, guys, feel free to ask questions as we go along here. I am going to talk through sort of a couple of things about it, what the 1.5 days is all about, and kind of what it needs to sort of look like. There are kind of two ways of looking at it. You can call it 1.5 days. You can call it the 80% rule. I like to talk about it in both ways, so I might mix and match it a little bit. But by doing things 80% of the time, you are going to be changing behaviors. So you don't have to get results by being perfect. 80% of the time is going to get you there. That translates into 1.5 days in the week. And if we break that down into meals and say you're having 3 meals and 1 snack in a day, it's about five or six misses in the week. And I'll talk a little bit about what a miss might be and how you could break it up and plan for it. All right. There are 2 reasons that we like to be flexible with our diets, and we don't need to achieve things perfectly and stick to it 100% of the time. And the first one is this is about sustainability. It's about a lifestyle. You're not on a strict diet. This is not a diet. It's not another fad. It's about lifestyle. And the way we do that is by reinforcing behaviors and things that you can stick with and keep sustainable. So whatever you're learning now is creating long-term habits that will lead to success. If you're looking for fat loss or weight loss, the only way to achieve that is by following a nutrition approach that you can stick with. So if you look at all the research and low carb versus low fat versus whatever it is, they're all as good as each other at the end of the day. And the only way they all work is people who can stick to them. So whenever you follow up with people after a year or 18 months, the diet that was the most successful one was the one that someone was able to stick to. So if you're following something and you can't see yourself doing it in a year's time, you might need to ask yourself why. All right. So sustainability and lifestyle is one point. By giving a bit of flexibility, you're more likely to stick to something. And we'll go into a couple of reasons about that. And the second is it's quite important when supporting calorie restriction. So you've got the lifestyle goal and the sustainability. And on the other hand, there are certain things that by being a bit more flexible and having a few days off, maybe a few days of higher calories, it helps when we're trying to lose weight. So it's actually important to use it and not see it as a failure or a cheat or something like that. It's actually quite important to your success. And I'll talk a little bit about why that's the case. All right. So if we look at sustainability and lifestyle, we want to make good choices 80% of the time. Okay, so if you don't have specific health goals, you just want to be a good version of yourself, you want to be supporting your training with the way that you eat, and you want to follow a good diet to move your general health forward, you need to be doing things 80% of the time. That means most of the time you're choosing good produce, you're cooking your own food, you're aware of your portions. Out of every 10 meals, 8 of them are bang on. You know where it's come from. You've taken the time to plan and prepare, and it gives you a little bit of leeway here and there to kind of miss the mark. All right. That also means life will get in the way sometimes, which is fun. That's what that extra 20% is there for. There might be a social event, a cultural event, a birthday, a something, and whatever that environment is doesn't match what your specific plan is or your approach to nutrition. It's fine. That event is not going to make or break anything. It's going to happen. You're going to own it, and there might be other benefits psychologically or emotionally or something to experiencing the event instead of putting that pressure on yourself to stick with your plan, because if you don't do it 100% of the time, you're going to fail at it. That's not the case. All right. So that's what it's there for. Life gets in the way. That's just how things are. So you can avoid some dietary pressure that way. What you eat and how you eat shouldn't put you under duress. So it shouldn't feel like a lust. It shouldn't feel like you're isolated at home. That's not what a good relationship and behavior with your nutrition and your food should be. If it is, you might need to adjust your approach so that it fits in with your way of eating, with your culture. There are different ways to skin a cat, and you can do that nutritionally. But it also gives you a little bit of flexibility on, the other days, the 1.5 days every week where you can just let your hair down a little bit more and it's still going to be fun. All right. So if you don't have specific weight loss goals, just eating well 80% of the time is going to be good. And there are different things that you'll then use to kind of control what you're doing. So your relationship with food becomes very important. Your mindfulness, and your hunger, sort of listening to your hunger cues. Those are maybe the most important aspects of anything that happens from just a long-term sort of sustainability approach. So if you learn to listen to your hunger, you control how much you eat, because you're never too hungry, you're never too full, you'll be able to get away with a lot that way. So it gives you a little bit of sustainability without being overly strict on it. So it's something that covers just a bit of general health. All right. Before I go on to the sort of more calorie restrictive side, I just want to see if there are any questions that came through in the last few minutes. So starting on Monday, can let yourself down on the weekend. So that's a good comment in terms of letting ourselves down. There's pressure from your nutrition, and it shouldn't be. It either means you're being too restrictive the rest of the time, or you're not appreciating maybe the weekend for what it is and the role that it might play. So I'll talk about that in the next bit with the importance of sometimes eating a little bit more. Try to get a good approach with it. I'll say it again, but using your day and a half is not about a safety net. It doesn't mean you can mess things up and it's okay. You should be planning for these things. So when you get into the weekend, when you get into whatever that day and a half is, you actually want to put certain things aside, think about it in advance so that it's intentional and you're actually doing it for a reason. All right, so I'm going to touch on that shortly. Adele's not on the one-on-one, but often wonder how well or bad I'm doing trying to stick to the 5.5, 1.5 day rules. All right, she used the term clean in there, which is something else I'll talk about just now. But this is a little bit about that. So if you're looking for results out of it and how you want to use it and why you want to use it, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail now. Megan James is checking in. Kim Ketley, have 5 meals as a miss during the week, or is it better to keep them to 1.5 days? So breaking it back into sustainability and lifestyle, if you're not particularly looking to change behavior, change habits, and achieve a certain goal, and for a lot of us here, it's about changing body shape or weight loss, split it up during the week. You've got 5 times, 5 misses where your portions will be a little bit big. You know, you'll have your glass of wine with me on a Wednesday night when you're doing a cook or something. You might have a birthday here or an anniversary or something that creeps in, and you spread out your kind of 5 poor food choices or portions that are too big, or you skipped a meal or whatever it is. That happens 5 times in a week. It's totally cool. That's fine. You start getting 7, 8, 9 times in a week and these little habits creep in and you have an extra snack and something's a little bit too much. You start to build a negative behavior. If you are looking to change behaviors, what we try to get you to do is stick with this Monday to Friday so that you're practicing. You're getting into a good routine of things, and every day, instead of once a day, you're making sort of a poor choice. You've got 5 solid days of good practice, good behavior change, reinforcing portion control, reinforcing your attentive nature around your food, and cooking it, taking responsibility, taking control, and then on the weekend you just kind of get a bit more flexible with it. That's the best way if you're really looking for results to do it. Starting that way, if you're starting on our one-on-one program, Monday to Friday, do things properly. Practice, and build habits and build new behaviors, and try to start your sustainability sort of journey that way. Then you've got a little bit of time over the weekend to spend it with some friends and family, and you get your portions a little bit wrong, and it's okay, and you pick it up again on Monday. Your goal is going to determine how you want to implement it. All right. Michelle, hello. Colleen says it's easier to do 3 treats a week as opposed to 1.5 days. So again, just all about how it fits in with you and what makes things a little bit more sustainable. If you don't have major behaviors and issues that you need to kind of overcome and create new ways of eating and better control and better portions, it's fine. At the end of the day, what you've consumed over a week is going to be the same. It's more about the behavior changes in terms of when you're actually doing it. Right. Alison says if you are out on a Saturday afternoon and lunch gets missed, that's one of your misses. So it's fine. It's part of the day and a half. What you'll most probably do is eat a similar amount on that day or a little bit more, whatever the case is. It's not going to make or break your progress. One meal that you've either missed or overeaten over the entire week you don't have to put pressure on it. It's fine. own it, move on, get your next meal, bang on. All right. Don't let it linger. Nikki says, should you feel hungry? Because some days she's not hungry between meals, and some days she doesn't have an appetite. I think in terms of long-term health and sustainability of any nutrition approach, it's very, very important that we all start to listen to our hunger cues and our satiety cues a bit better. We've all forgotten about this. We start eating 2 o'clock because, we wake up, it's breakfast time. It's lunchtime. We've only got a half an hour, an hour at lunch. That's when we need to eat. We get home, it's dinner time, so we've got to eat. The body wasn't really ever made to do that. So we've almost forced a new frequency and timing of eating that is a little bit foreign to natural circadian rhythms and how things work. So I think if anything, we start to listen better and try and tune into what the body needs, listening to our hunger again, and trying to get that to guide us. On the one-on-one program, we give you portions. We tell you how much we think that your body needs based on your body shape and your training. As you progress along that, and as you start to reinforce all of these good behaviors, you should be starting to pick up things about, when I'm hungry, when I'm not, listening to that hunger a little bit better. If you're not on our one-on-one program, it's the place you need to start. Listen to your body. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Right? There's no reason to do it. So even on our program, if it's on a piece of paper and it says you need to be eating this, if you're not hungry, don't force it. Right? We're reinforcing a poor behavior in that way. Quite often we use a hunger scale as another way to guide when and how much to eat. And I like to use sort of 1 being absolutely stuffed and 10 being completely starved. You never want to be starving when you start eating, and you never want to be stuffed when you finish eating. You draw what we often do with some clients is with every meal, you can give yourself a number between 1 and 10, how hungry you feel when you start and how full you feel at the end of it. You always want to be like in a little gray area. So just starting to get a bit hungry before you eat and finishing that meal feeling satiated. You're fine, you're cool, you don't feel like, I've eaten too much. And I think it's one of the most valuable things to carry over into your day and a half is to say, well, I'm going to listen to my body. I'm going to practice this, and I'm going to start my meal when I just feel like having something to eat, but I'm going to eat enough to be at about a 7 or 8 out of 10, and I'm satisfied, and that should get me through to the next meal. It's not a Christmas lunch or Sunday lunch where you feel like you need to go nap for an hour afterwards because you've completely stuffed yourself. And those are the little things that build up over time where we start overeating, we get used to bigger portions, and these little habits start to build, and we start to put on a little extra kilo over a holiday or whatever. One of the most important things you can do is listen to your body and those hunger cues. All right. Megan wants to know if you eat well during the week and have a glass of wine with dinner on a weekday, is that considered part of your 1.5 days? Depends on your goals. If you're on our one-on-one coaching and you want to lose weight, a glass of wine is part of your 1.5 days. So alcohol, there's no value from a fat loss point of view. Obviously, it's unnecessary calories. So if you're looking to lose some weight or lose some fat, alcohol needs to be part of your 5 misses in the week. Okay. We suggest doing it on the weekend, so saving that for that. If you don't have specific sort of body change goals, it's totally fine. Having some wine in moderation is cool. So if you're just keeping healthy, you have a glass, a couple times a week, that is fine. It really just needs to come down to your goals, Megan. All right. Megan James wanted to know, when I don't stick to my 1.5 days and try to spread it out, I get out of routine and I miss my goals and start munching. 100%. So that's what it's about, is behavior change. If you every day have a miss, it means every day you're practicing something that isn't moving your health or your goals forward. So bunching it together at the end of the week, I'm going to get on in a second to the reasons for that, but just behavior change, it's a slightly better way of doing it. It does take out the little flexibilities, the misses, the other little things that start to creep in because you've done that. You might do that, and you may be in a different mindset because of it. Michael says portion size is always an issue. Ingredients are measured pre-cooked, but then dividing out before becomes calculating. So you've got to do a little maths equation. So it's just finding the sort of best solution for that. So it might be visually, knowing that if you split it up 3 or 4 ways, pretty much how much everyone gets. If it's the odd meal here or there, portions are also a bit of a guide. If you're out by 10 or 15%, it doesn't really matter. You'll most probably be a little bit less and a little bit more one day, and it's up and down, which is fine. It's going to average it out, and you can base it off your your goals and your progress. If things are still moving forward, that's great. Tiffany, it says it's good knowing you have days where you can be a bit relaxed, have the potjie going, which is a nice way to spend the weekend. Biggest thing I've learned about the one-on-one program is portion control. So on the 1.5 days, I'm relaxed, but I watch the portions. That's exactly what it's about. So our one-on-one nutrition guides are all about portion control. And what we actually find is that the 1.5 days becomes an opportunity to practice that without actually thinking about it in terms of I have to be on this, I have to be getting it right. It just becomes second nature. So it's a chance for you to just do what you have been doing and see how it goes. Listen to your hunger, just do it on its own. You might have foods that aren't on plan on those days, but because you're mindful of your portions, you're still going to be winning. And that's what it's about. That's what sustainability is about. If you're always thinking about how much am I eating, you can get away with food choices on your 1.5 days. So you feel like the crisps, or you feel like the burger, or you feel like some pizza, whatever it is, there's no food that is inherently evil or unhealthy. The only unhealthy bigger picture diets. So 1 or 2 foods doesn't matter. If you're mindful of your portions, you're still going to be in a good space with it. So it's the one overarching question that always needs to be there. Okay, I'll get to a few more questions. I just want to cover the second side. So sustainability is the one reason we use 1.5 days. Right? It gives us a bit of flexibility from a lifestyle point of view. The second one is it's actually quite important for results when we are calorie restricted and we are trying to lose weight. All right. So a couple of reasons for that. One of them, it limits some of the downside of calorie restriction. So there are some risks and metabolic and hormonal fluctuations that happen when we are calorie restricted, and the body tries to conserve energy. So the longer you are restricted for to lose weight, the more the body's going to try and conserve where it's at. It wants to stay in equilibrium. It doesn't want to lose weight. It thinks where it's at is where it should be. So the longer that goes on, certain things change. So some of your metabolic processes slow a little bit. Your hunger and satiety hormones change, so the body can sort of counter this change that it's going through. And the bigger that calorie restriction, the bigger the issues can be. So it's why we see plateaus and weight losses when we've been in calorie restriction for too long, and quite a big one, losing all this weight, and all of a sudden for a couple of months, nothing's happened. The body's trying to conserve energy. And one of the interesting things that some research shows us is that by every now and then, just giving a little bolus, a little blast of some extra calories, we can negate some of that. So one of the better studies kind of uses a 2-week trial of it, where over a couple of months, some people were all on a calorie restriction every day. And the other, every 2 weeks, they had 3 days of a calorie surplus, so like a refeed. And that's sort of, if it's 3 days over 2 weeks, it's 1.5 days over 1 week. And the results in that group were much better. And the thought from that is because of all the sort of slowed metabolism and the hormonal fluctuations that try to conserve energy and stop your body from losing this weight are negated, because every now and then you're just getting a little bit more food, and it gets that fire burning again. It ramps up the metabolism. If you're training, it means you can train a little bit harder because you're not always depleted and you're not always just, too deprived. You can get more quality out of it. It's actually quite useful. So it's one of the reasons we keep it in there, is to say, if you're trying to lose weight and you on our guide, and obviously if you're there for fat loss, there's calorie restriction. Every week, there's a day and a half where we just ramp things up. It's there to be used. You want to eat a little bit more, get a little bit more carbohydrates in, get a little bit more protein or fats, and just calories increase a little bit, but you don't feel like you've stuffed yourself. You've kind of eaten to a point of just feeling satisfied. That should be enough to overcome it. And the longer you're on a program and a sort of strict eating plan for, the more important that becomes. All right. That said, it's also quite easy to completely blow your weekly progress in a day, in a meal. So normally when we're looking for fat loss, we're looking for 400, 500 calorie deficits per day. So Monday to Friday, if you add that up, you're at about 2,000 calories. You can go out and have a pizza and 2 beers, and it's maybe 1,500, 1,600 calories, and it means your entire weekly deficit's gone. So like Jono says, camping outside McDonald's on your day and a half off doesn't help. All right. It just means eat a little bit more to a point where you're satisfied. It might be a food that wasn't great for you from a health perspective, but it's okay. You don't feel like you've overeaten at the end of it, and some of the downside's going to be negated. The next week you might feel a little bit better, you can go harder, and you can keep on with your progress. All right. Don't go nuts on your day and a half off. All right. Behavior from a restrictive diet is also important because it can feel like you're just always depriving yourself. All right. So from an emotional side, from a psychological side, having that day and a half off, apart from the metabolic effect and the hormonal effect, there's also the psychological side. So knowing that you don't have to deprive yourself all the time to get results is fantastic. You know that at the end of the week, you're able to let your hair down a little bit. We don't want you to see it as a treat or a reward. That's not what food is. The environment can be a reward. So, being able to share in some time with family or friends and not stress too much, that's where the reward is. So it's a bit of a fine line. It's not associating food with the reward. It's actually just the environment. It's being able to share that and experience it, and that's great. But food shouldn't have a positive connotation to it or a negative connotation. There's no pressure and there's no reward. It's just having a really good relationship and appreciating how you can nourish your body, how you can fuel and still get to your results that you're looking for. All right. So that's, again, not using it as a safety net, as an excuse and saying, well, this weekend I'm letting it go, and the intention of it. So what we like to do with our coached clients is plan for it. So in the weekly planners, your September planner that you guys have got for the week or for the month ahead, put in what you would see as your misses in there. So on the weekend, things that there might be an event coming up and there are going to be some misses there and what it might be. Instead of you get to Saturday and all of a sudden it's an environment or a situation you can't control, and it's 2 liters of Coke and a packet of chips and all sorts of things go out the window. Rather plan what your misses are. Say, I'm going to have a glass of wine, I'm going to have a burger and chips, and I'm done. Cool. Instead of walking into somewhere and just making a decision off the whim, because the chances are you might sort of not make the best one. If we do it with intent and we plan while we're practicing and getting used to this as a habit, it's going to put you in a better space for it. All right. I've got a note of using your hunger as a guide for that as well. So again, the most important thing I think we can learn is using your hunger as a guide and a tool for this. And a couple things you must never talk about is cheat meals and eating clean. Right? There's no such thing as clean and dirty food. There's no positive and negative. It's food. Some's better for us, some isn't. It doesn't matter. You get flexibility. Portion control is what it's about. I hate having a negative connotation to food, a negative behavior, pressure, stress. I've got it wrong. There's no fail or pass with nutrition. Okay, it's all about bigger picture. Cheat meals, you haven't cheated anything. You haven't cheated yourself. You've made a choice. I like to call them choice meals because it's done with intent, and you've chosen it. It's what I felt like. It's the environment I wanted to eat in. So do it with intent. You haven't cheated. You haven't failed. All right. The less of those words in the nutrition space I see, the better. See your food as nourishment, not as a reward or a punishment instead. All right. Going to catch up on some questions quickly. Terry says she's not usually hungry during the day at all and only eats because my one-on-one coach encourages me to. Is it okay to skip breakfast and lunch? So on the one-on-one program, we've kind of tried to split things up throughout the day, so that we've got regular opportunities to eat well, which improves blood glucose management, blood sugar control, improves hunger levels, and little doses of protein throughout the day, so it helps with your recovery and your exercising a lot, and some of the downside of calorie restrictions improved by that. So it's trying to find a balance between eating regularly and seeing what's happening with that hunger. I'd rather clients didn't skip breakfast and lunch, just move the time of it, have breakfast a little bit later or lunch a little bit later, which is fine. There might be something going on with sleep that affects that, and how we eat relative to our circadian rhythms is quite important, and maybe a topic for another day. But there might be something else that's contributing to that and why you're not feeling hungry. A quick one on circadian rhythms and eating is we should really be trying to eat according to sunrise and sunset. That's how the body's designed. That's how it metabolizes food a little bit better. Sun up is when most of our calories should happen. Sundown should be sort of when we're tying it up. The body was never designed to digest and metabolize later at night. So we can get better results and better quality and better outcomes that way. All right. Is there some kind of general rule for how many calories you should take in daily for a weight loss? So I touched on that briefly. It's more about the difference. So everyone's needs are different based on your age and your sex and your body weight and your muscle mass and all sorts of things. So your metabolic rate and how many calories you burn is all very different. Next Friday, we actually talk about all things calories. So tune in for that one. It's going to be quite interesting. But the deficit we're looking at is about 400 or 500 calories a day. What that all means and how we break down, I'll go into next week. But you don't want a big deficit because you're starving the body. It starts to break down muscle. It starts to break down bone. And from an exercise point of view, that's not great because you might get injured. From a health point of view, that's not great because those are very important organs. So you want the smallest deficit. So the most food you can eat and lose weight is the best way to go as a theme. All right. Michelle says going to need to start prepping us for holidays at the end of the year. Definitely. And that's all about habits and behaviors and choices. And I can promise you, so clients that have always been successful over the Christmas holidays, they're in tune with their hunger. They know when to eat and when to stop, and they can control their portions that way. Instead of listening to a specific guide because you don't have a nutrition plan in front of you. You're at Christmas lunch or whatever. Things are going nuts. You've got a Christmas party. People who can tune in to their hunger cues and their satiety cues are the most successful over holidays. All right. Megan, once you're in the routine, you'll be surprised how easy it is to work. Exactly, it's routine. And again, it's trying to cherish the moments of the holiday, of Christmas, of whatever, instead of associating food with what makes that day special. Food's lacquer, obviously, yes. On Christmas, we enjoy that moment. It doesn't mean we have to eat so much. Rather have a little bit of the nice things there instead of feeling like at the end of it, you just completely sort of overblown it. All right. Judith says, good morning. It is most probably still morning in Scotland, so I hope you're having a good morning. Colleen, being accountable to Coach Kate makes you think twice daily. So that's the value of the one-on-one. Someone else is checking in on you and you're accountable to someone and it makes you think. So because you're double thinking about something, I'm sending this meal forward, I've got to WhatsApp my coach and send it through. It makes you reevaluate it. The longer you practice that, the longer that's going to stick with you. So that every time you're dishing up a plate, you're ordering off a menu, you're reading something, to order, you're always thinking to yourself, how does this weigh up? What is on the plate? What are my portions? How's the distribution? And how does it all kind of work together there? All right. Nikki says that's where she is, stuck on the same weight for a few weeks now. So there are a couple reasons for it. Obviously, I've mentioned one of them. It can be, calorie restriction for quite a while, and the body is trying to counter that and preserve its energy. And there are different things you can do between changing calories to changing carbon-fat ratios and all sorts of things just to stoke the fire again. But plateaus are normal. Sometimes you also just need to just stick with it and keep going. All right. Colleen says she's got a really sweet tooth, so it keeps one of her misses for a pudding over the weekend. Perfect. Planned. So she knows I enjoy my sweet stuff. I'm changing my behavior Monday to Friday. On the weekend, I like a pudding. I'm going to have it. That's fine. That's exactly what it's about. All right. What's classified as a miss, Megan? So a miss is anything where your food choice isn't moving your health forward. It's not the best quality. It's something that you wouldn't think is a healthy food. So it can be the quality of the food is a miss, or the portion is wrong. So if the portion's too big or too small, it's a miss. You've eaten too much, you've eaten too little, it's a miss. If it's something that isn't a good option, it's a miss. If it's alcohol or a calorie-containing drink that you don't need for any reason, it's a miss. So you might have something that's too big. You might have something that's not an ideal type of food, or you might drink something that's got calories that doesn't match obviously your plan or your approach. Those are the types of things that are misses. So typically 5 of those added up over the week is going to be your 1.5 days. If you're really strict, try and get them all into the weekend so that you're changing behavior Monday to Friday. Okay. Let's see, any other questions? Catherine says 3 meals a day was her biggest challenge. Now she looks forward to her meals. So it is the body's habitual like that. So it likes to kind of get into routine, get into habits. And, by just giving nice, small, regular doses of good nutrition, it's an opportunity to nourish your body. So I think seeing it in that light, as opposed to the less I eat, the better it's going to be, is good for all sorts of reasons. So each time we sit down at a plate, we're making something in the kitchen, it's an opportunity to nourish your body, to fuel, to recover, to help your health, help your inflammation, whatever it is. Everything we put in our mouth is an opportunity, and that's, I think, quite an exciting way to look at it. Leanne, do you recommend intermittent fasting? I don't recommend it. I've got a video on my coach page if you want to go check it out, a little bit about fasting and, the ins and outs of it. So, as a blanket answer, I'd say no, there is some value to it, not daily. I think a fast every now and then can be quite useful from a metabolic health point of view. But in terms of weight loss, again, the only reason it works is because it restricts calories. If you ate the same amount in 24 hours as you do in 3 hours, from a weight loss point of view, you're going to get the same results 95% of the time. All right. Lydia, also intermittent fasting, cool. Hopefully that covered that. Michelle says normally they say one should eat dinner later than 7 p.m. for weight loss. Is that true? The most important thing will always be how much you eat in a day. So 24 hours is the most important bit. Okay. It gets a little bit, fine tuning about when we do it and that, but a simple rule, try and eat in sunlight hours from the best metabolic response. But again, if you eat the same amount in 24 hours or in 7 hours, you should get a very similar response. The timing of it more affects how you digest it, how you metabolize it, and your sleep, which has other effects. And I think that's as important. All right. I don't want to go on too long, so I'll catch up the last few questions here. Does calorie burn counteract this? I don't know what that meant, Michael. And if you fast once a week, would it be helpful with weight loss? It can, but it depends what you do the rest of the time. So again, one thing's not going to make or break weight loss. It's what you're doing every day. It's the behaviors that you're doing all the time. It's the portions that you're sticking with all the time. It's the bigger picture. There can be some value in it from, some metabolic effects, but what you are doing for 95% of your week, or 80% if we go back to that number, is what's going to determine your success. All right. Cool. Kim, which page will I find the intermittent fasting video? That's just on my Jeff Coach Adrian page. I just did a little video on some ins and outs of fasting. So I think it's pinned under my video tab or something like that. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to wrap up before I keep you guys from your weekend. You need to go have some fun. 1.5 days. It starts typically on the weekend, so you can go practice it this weekend. There are two things. One, it helps us keep sustainable. It gives us flexibility, and this isn't a fad diet, it's long-term. So everything you're practicing now needs to carry you on for as long as possible, which is why we do this. The second reason is it supports your results. It's there to be used. If you're looking for fat loss, it counteracts some of the negative effects of calorie restriction. And it's also important from a psychological point of view. What it means, if you're trying to change behavior, try and keep it all for the weekend when, we let our hair down a little bit, really practice hard, get your habits right Monday to Friday, and take it easy over the weekend. Use it as an opportunity to practice your new habits. Eat a little bit more, but eat to satiety. So start when you're just a little bit hungry, finish your meal when you're just a little bit full. Okay, and I think that's the most valuable thing you'll be able to learn and get in tune with the longer you carry on with your health journey. Right, hopefully that's given you guys a little bit of direction with it, some things that you can work with, you can play with. Send me a message, comment here on the page. We can chat about this a little bit more, but hopefully it's given you a little bit of fire for the weekend, and a little bit of direction. Remember, do everything with intention. Every time we eat, it's an opportunity to nourish. Okay. Michelle, it's a pleasure. Huge help for 1.5 days. Pippa, nice to have you. Kim as well. Pat, guys, have a fantastic weekend. Keep active, be flexible, enjoy it, go and have a lekker time, and then Monday all the hard work starts again. I'll see you guys on Monday for some Monday meal prep. Wednesday we've got a cool Jeff cook with a very special somebody in the kitchen, and then next Friday we're talking all things calories in, calories out, and the calorie conundrum, what it all means. All right, have a fantastic one, guys. I will see you all soon. Cheers.
I am fiercely feminine because nothing can hold me back. My passion burns brighter than my fears. I am both vulnerable and strong at the same time. Just because I carry my load well doesn't mean it's not heavy. Behind my physical strong look, there's care, love, struggle, forgiveness, heartache, depression, beauty, and compassion. I still rise above judgment and unrealistic expectations based on my appearance and lifestyle, which doesn't define me. There's so much more feminine beauty within me. I am a mosaic of the battles I have won. My cracks may be judged, but I am proud to be perfectly imperfect, and I fearlessly, fiercely, and unapologetically own it. So join us in being fiercely feminine, and let's celebrate each other today and every day.